Welcome back. In today's recap, we're covering everything from devastating flash floods in Spain to an unusual turn for World Series viewership and major updates on U.S. Supreme Court rulings. Let's get started. Deadly flash floods in Spain. Starting off with a tragic situation in Spain, where flash floods have claimed the lives of at least 140 people, marking one of the most severe natural disasters in the country's recent history. Heavy rain began Tuesday and quickly turned streets across multiple regions, from Malaga to Valencia, into rivers, sweeping away vehicles and household debris. In the town of Utiel, Mayor Ricardo Gabaldon described the devastation as the worst day of my life. 6 residents perished in Utiel alone. Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez addressed the nation, expressing his condolences to families searching for missing loved ones and pledging full government support. Spain's government has declared 3 days of mourning, while authorities urge residents to stay indoors due to dangerous road conditions and widespread power outages. The rapid and intense rainfall, worsened by long-term droughts that limited the land's water absorption, has left the nation reeling. Supreme Court allows Virginia voter purge before election. In the United States, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of Virginia's decision to remove over 1,600 suspected non-citizens from its voter rolls, just days ahead of the general election. The court's 6-3 decision overturned a previous block, drawing criticism from some who worry it could lead to voter disenfranchisement. Governor Glenn Youngkin called the ruling a victory for election fairness, emphasizing the need for accurate voter lists. However, in their dissent, liberal justices raised concerns that eligible voters may not have had enough time to contest errors in their removal. Justice Sonia Sotomayor expressed worry over disenfranchising eligible citizens, while Justice Elena Kagan questioned whether adequate notification safeguards were in place. Critics argue that the purge could disproportionately impact minority and immigrant communities, potentially leaving eligible voters without recourse this close to Election Day. Colorado's voting system password oversight. Moving over to Colorado, state officials recently removed voting system passwords that had been accidentally posted on the Secretary of State's website for months. Secretary of State Gina Griswold assured residents that the oversight doesn't pose a security threat, noting that the passwords are just one layer in a multi-part system designed to prevent unauthorized access. The incident, though minor, has reignited concerns over election security. In response, Griswold's office has updated security protocols, including changing passwords, checking access logs, and reviewing custody records for the affected systems. Colorado's GOP chairman Dave Williams has called for verification that all exposed passwords have been changed. This development follows increased scrutiny over election security, particularly after a former county clerk was convicted of election equipment tampering earlier this year. Japan surpasses U.S. in World Series viewership. For the first time in baseball history, Japan recorded a higher viewership for a World Series game than the United States. During Game 2 between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees, roughly 15.9 million viewers in Japan tuned in, surpassing the U.S. audience of 13.8 million. The viewership surge is largely thanks to Dodgers' designated hitter, Shohei Ohtani, whose star power has captured Japan's baseball-loving audience. This trend started earlier in the postseason, with millions in Japan tuning in to watch Ohtani's games, and continued into the World Series. As MLB officials noted, Japan is now the biggest market for baseball, overtaking the U.S. for the first time. Supreme Court keeps RFK Jr. on ballots in key states. In another Supreme Court decision, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. will remain on ballots in Michigan and Wisconsin, despite suspending his campaign and endorsing Donald Trump. Kennedy had petitioned the court to remove his name, arguing that appearing on ballots implied he was still running, thus violating his First Amendment rights. In Wisconsin, the state's election commission declined Kennedy's request, explaining that state law doesn't permit a candidate's withdrawal after qualification. The court also denied Kennedy's emergency appeal in Michigan, where officials noted that over 1.5 million absentee ballots, including his name, had already been distributed. While Kennedy pushed to be removed from ballots in these battleground states, he allowed his name to remain in less competitive areas, where he suggested supporters could still vote for him. New York City legalizes jaywalking. In a significant policy shift, New York City has legalized jaywalking. Mayor Eric Adams allowed the bill to become law without his signature, following the initiative of Councilmember Mercedes Narcisse, who cited racial disparities in jaywalking ticketing. Last year, over 90% of jaywalking tickets went to Black and Latino New Yorkers. Under this new law, pedestrians can now cross outside designated crosswalks or against lights, although they must still yield to oncoming vehicles. Critics worry the change could increase accidents, while supporters argue that it recognizes New Yorkers' daily realities. Narcisse countered safety concerns by calling for investment in better street design, reduced speeding, and vehicle safety improvements to genuinely protect pedestrians. Ballot box fires in Oregon and Washington, linked to free Gaza devices. Our final story today covers a troubling incident in the Pacific Northwest. Ballot box fires in Oregon and Washington have been linked to incendiary devices marked with free Gaza messages. Another device found on a ballot box in Vancouver, Washington, bore similar messages, including Free Palestine. The FBI and local law enforcement are investigating the incidents to determine if the markings reflect political views or were meant as a misdirection. These incidents have brought renewed focus to ballot security as authorities work to prevent future disruptions during the election process. That wraps up today's news recap. From global natural disasters to Supreme Court rulings and beyond, there's always a lot happening. Thanks for tuning in. If you found this update helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more daily updates. See you next time.